look for me." That's what I wrote in the note I left on his pillow. 4 words. For a man who never looked at me anyway. My name is Isabella Thornwood. Duchess. Wife. Ghost. And tonight, I'm running from the only man who had the power to see me. Duke Sebastian Thornwood just never did. Until it was too late.
The snow fell in silence as I descended the grand staircase of Thornwood Manor. 2 small valises clutched in my gloved hands, my back straight, despite 3 years of loneliness. Behind me, golden light from the winter ball spilled through tall windows. Inside, Sebastian stood among laughing nobles. Perfect posture, distant smile, masking the emptiness between us. My fingers trembled as I thought of the note. Don't look for me, because you never did before. Why would you start now? 3 years of marriage, 3 years of separate chambers and careful courtesies, 3 years of existing, but never living. I stood at the frosted window of my private chambers, watching snowflakes spiral down to blanket the castle grounds. Thornwood Manor was a marvel of stone and history, its halls lined with stern-faced ancestors who watched me with the same detached interest as my husband. Have you ever felt invisible to the person you married? Tonight had been the annual winter ball, the most significant social event hosted by the Duke and Duchess. As always, we performed our roles flawlessly. Sebastian escorted me down the grand staircase, my hand resting lightly on his arm. We opened the dance with practiced steps, his hand properly positioned at my waist, neither too intimate nor too distant. To anyone watching, we appeared the perfect aristocratic couple. "You look lovely tonight, Duchess." The same compliment at every formal occasion, delivered with the same polite smile that never reached his eyes. "Thank you, Your Grace." The exchange was as rehearsed as our dance steps. When the dance ended, he bowed, I curtsied, and we separated for the remainder of the evening. The pattern never varied. The humiliation came later. I stood near the refreshment table, pretending to admire the ice sculptures, while listening to the poison in the air. Still no air for Ashford. I froze. The champagne in my glass suddenly turned bitter. 3 years and not even a whisper of a child. One wonders if the Duke even visits her bed. My hands trembled. Perhaps she lacks the necessary charms to entice him. Muffled laughter followed. "Isabella, darling," Lady Elizabeth Weston appeared, my childhood friend, turned sweet poison. "You've done wonders with the decorations. At least your talents lie somewhere, since they clearly aren't in securing your position as Duchess." Something inside me shattered, not with sound, but with silence. Hours later, the ball concluded. I moved to my writing desk. I didn't write a lengthy explanation. He'd never shown interest in my thoughts before. I placed the note on my pillow and changed into a simple traveling dress. I took the hidden servant staircase down to the kitchens. Old Mrs. Winters looked up. Understanding dawned in her weathered face. "Please, I need your discretion, not your title." The older woman nodded. "The back gate, then." "Where will you go?" "To my aunt's cottage in Thornfield. No one need know until morning." But he must learn to see what's before him, before he can truly find me. The night air bit at my cheeks as the carriage pulled away from Ashford Castle. I refused to look back, at the grand structure that had been my prison of politeness. 3 years I had tried to be the perfect Duchess. Quiet, accommodating, never demanding the affection or partnership marriage vows had promised. As the castle disappeared into the darkness, a single tear slid down my cheek. Not for what I was leaving, but for what had never been. The Duke first noticed his wife's absence at breakfast. Her place, always meticulously set, remained empty. By midday, concern finally penetrated his carefully ordered world. "Has anyone seen the Duchess this morning?" "No, Your Grace. Her lady's maid reports her bed was not slept in. 2 of her valises are missing." Sebastian stiffened, his fingers tightening around his pen. "I see. And no one thought to inform me of this earlier?" The staff assumed he was aware, that a husband would naturally know his wife's whereabouts. But their marriage had never followed such natural patterns. In the privacy of his study, Sebastian's breathing quickened. She had left without word, without permission. She was not a prisoner, merely a wife, who had apparently decided she no longer wished to be.
Your Grace, Mrs. Winter stood in the doorway. The Duchess has been providing medicines to the village for nearly 2 years. She asked us to keep her involvement private. Sebastian looked up, his mask slipping. Why would she hide this? She believed you wouldn't approve of a Duchess involving herself in such common matters. The answer formed in his mind before she finished, because he had never shown interest in her activities, because he had maintained such rigid boundaries that she could never be certain what would displease him. It was her tonic that saved the children during the fever, Mrs. Winters whispered. She worked through the night, then had it delivered anonymously. Sebastian remembered that winter. He had approved funds for a doctor from London who arrived too late. The village had recovered, and he never once imagined it was his quiet, proper wife, working by candlelight, creating the remedies that saved their lives. He had thought her ornamental, a necessary addition to his position, but not essential to his life. He had never imagined her as a partner who had been there all along, without recognition or thanks. Thomas returned with the news. The Duchess is staying with her aunt near Millfield Village. She appears well. Sebastian returned to the journals, reading late into the night. With each page, the woman he thought he knew dissolved, replaced by someone far more complex. He had married Isabella for her lineage. He had never sought to know the woman herself. Now she was gone, and he discovered that she'd been essential all along. Tomorrow he would go to her, not to command her return, but to meet, perhaps for the first time, the woman he had married. The journey was stark and beautiful. Bare trees etched against gray skies, fields blanketed in snow. The simplicity struck him as honest, in a way his grand castle never was. The cottage appeared at the end of a winding lane. Sebastian hesitated at the gate. For the first time in memory, he felt uncertain. He who commanded Parliament found himself nervous at the prospect of facing his own wife. The maid led him toward the back of the cottage. The kitchen door stood ajar. Through it, Sebastian glimpsed a scene that stopped him in his tracks. Isabella stood at a wooden table, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hands dusted with flour. Her hair was simply braided. She wore a plain dress and an apron. She was laughing. Her face was animated in a way he had never seen at Ashford. For a moment, he simply watched her, struck by how at ease she appeared, how alive, compared to the reserved figure in his castle. "The Duke of Ashford, my lady." Isabella's head snapped up. The laughter died on her lips, and Sebastian watched as the animation drained from her face, replaced by the careful mask he knew so well. "Your Grace, this is unexpected." You're making bread? Yes, I offered to help. I didn't know you could bake. There are many things we don't know about each other. I found your journals, he whispered. The medicines, the village. I had no idea you were doing such important work. Would it have mattered if you had known? I don't know. I never gave you the opportunity to show me who you are. Why are you here, Sebastian? It was the first time she had used his name. I want to understand why you left. I accepted an arranged marriage, she said quietly. What I didn't expect was to live as a ghost in my own home, acknowledged but unseen. Indifference can wound just as deeply as cruelty. I grew up watching my father destroy my mother, Sebastian confessed. Every joy she found, he undermined.
I swore I would never inflict such pain on my wife. So instead, you kept me at a distance. I thought distance was kindness. I never realized I was creating a different kind of cage. Give me a week, he said, away from titles. 1 week of truth between us. Truth requires courage from both of us. 1 week then, but I make no promises beyond that. They breakfasted together in the small dining room. The conversation was halting, then gradually eased. He watched how her hands moved expressively, how her eyes brightened when she spoke of her plants. Had she ever looked this way at Ashford? Had he ever given her reason to? She took him to the village. Sebastian noticed how people greeted her, not with deference to her title, but with genuine warmth. At the apothecary, the old man looked up with joy. Your wife is a remarkable woman, sir. Her knowledge exceeds many trained physicians. Henry watched his wife move through the small shop, confident, respected for her mind.
The village assembly hall was packed. Lord Kenilworth's steward, Mr. Hargrove, was sneering at the villagers, demanding they sign away their common lands. The weeds were the village's medicines. Isabella tensed beside Sebastian. She straightened her shoulders and moved to the front. Mr. Hargrove, your legal understanding is incomplete. The original charter explicitly preserves the gathering rights of villagers for medicinal purposes. Furthermore, you are violating riparian rights established since the 11th century. Hargrove blinked. And you are someone who knows that this project would face significant legal obstacles if brought before proper authorities. These people have no resources to mount legal challenges. Hargrove laughed. And who exactly are you to interfere? Isabella stood alone. She could maintain her anonymity, stay as the simple Mrs. Thornfield. Sebastian moved forward through the crowd. He took his place beside her. Not in front of her, beside her. She is the Duchess of Ashford, my wife, and I've come to listen. Sebastian had spent his life protecting a title, but in that moment, he realized the only thing worth protecting was the woman standing next to him. Ruin is a choice, and sometimes you have to let everything burn just to see who's left standing in the ashes. Don't wait until she leaves to finally see her. Would you have given him a second chance?